Greetings and welcome back to Book of Shadows. In the last episode we finished chapter 6. Yuka met her match, and now we're in chapter 7 where the Byakuran students started on a light-hearted note, and now, as many times before, we are back in Heavenly Host. Fun times over. Let's begin. Here we go. Search mode. We already found the corpse in here, and there isn't actually anything on the third floor besides that. So we will go down to the second floor for now. What we need to do is to find the exit, and since you've probably played a lot of Corpse Party by this point, you know where the exit is. If you don't, then you should really look into your memory. There is one corpse in here. There's only 5 more corpses in this chapter. There's the one, and it looks familiar, doesn't it? Because it's the one that Mayu found. No, it really isn't, but let's pretend it is. The door is closed up tight, it won't even budge. This door seems like it might just be openable. It's a bunch of dishes. They must have been propped against the door. There are wet, bloody prints all over them. It's a little disturbing. Everything raises your darkening by like 2% here. How does it feel to be starved, I think. The writing is partially erased, making it hard to interpret what it might have said. But we came here for this, so let us do it. It's a newly deceased corpse. Based on appearance and dress, she seems to have been female. There's a student ID name tag at her feet. Karasuyama High School, Megumi Honda. Age 16, cause of death, dehydrated. Last words were, I'm so thirsty. Well, if you don't die from the booby traps and kids and riding agonizing spirits of Japanese legends, you're gonna die by that. Well, this guy looks kinda strange. It's a recently deceased corpse, still a bit warm. Based on appearance and uniform, this was most likely a high school boy. There's a student ID name tag on the ground next to him, but is that an alias? A fake ID? The name on the card seems highly suspicious. Kurashiki Industrial High School, Honda 4th Street. 4th Street, alright. Age 18, and cause of death. Intended to manufacture Heavenly Host elementary goods and sell them for a premium price, but died before seeing this dream come true. Yeah, that was a terrible dream, man. Let's just see if we can go here. 2A. There's a large hole in the floor here. It's much too big to jump over. But I assume that we can get inside 2A, though. I am correct. There must be something here. Because there's always something. And I don't have a lot of time to make this episode, so I'm gonna make this quick. The words, kill before you're killed, are scribbled all over the school flyer. Alright. There are letters scratched into the corner of the blackboard, seemingly with fingernails. Do not trust them, they will betray you. The one who volunteered to go will betray you most severely. Yeah. Wait. Oh, 22%. Well, it doesn't really matter. The cabinet is locked. There appear to be numerous thick books inside. They have the titles like The Truth of Ties and Adorababble Enough to Kill You. What in the world could the last one possibly be about? And even that raised our darkening. Well, I didn't want to say. There's absolutely no scenery outside this window, just pitch blackness, and the window itself isn't budging at all. Simply will not open, no matter how much force is exerted upon it. No, nothing there. I think the lab is locked as per usual. You might ask, oh, well, why didn't you go to the boys' bathroom? No, there really isn't anything there. It's locked up tight. Looks like we'll have to try another way. Here. And a cutscene will commence. The word infirmary was written on the plate above the door. Somehow the room just felt like it would be deserted. I was oddly confident about that. Not sure why I felt that way, to be honest. But for good measure I shouted, "Is anybody in there?" We still hadn't found Mitsuki after all. I didn't hear her call back though, so really we had no business in this room whatsoever. Wait, was that a key sticking out of the lock? Who would have locked the door but left the key? What would be the point?
Oh, なんだこれ。扉に鍵刺さってるぜ。
何してんの？
中に化け物でもいたら大変だろ。出てこれないようにしてやった。
その鍵どうするのよ。
Oh, I'm just gonna be an asshole and throw it around and probably lose it.
俺が持っとくよっと。
危ないな、投げないでよ。
キャッチうめえだろ。まだ高く投げられるぜ。
まったく。Pain in the ass. Shimada was such a pain in the ass. I really couldn't stand the guy. And Kisame chooses to remain quiet, which is, as per usual, his standard way. And now, of course.
しつこい、分かったからやめて。
ここ天井高えな。よし。ああ、どこ行った？まあいいや。知らね。
And there goes the key. And now the infirmary was cut off from us if we needed it. Brilliant. What a douchebag that guy is. Now we're at the exit. Automatically.
昇降口だ。やった、出られる。
And the thing is that before you can never open the exit, but now I rushed over the door, hopefully yet afraid, knowing it might not open, but praying this horrid place would show us at least a little mercy. Gingerly I raised my hand and pushed on it, and it swung open without even the slightest hesitation. It seemed almost too easy. Yeah, the door actually opens in this chapter. For the first time ever. It was unnaturally dark outside, though, and the rain was coming down so hard that peeking my head out for just a moment left my uniform completely soaked. Yeah, the thing is that even if you manage to open the door, there's really nowhere to go outside. Wait a minute. Shimada pushed past me, throwing the door open even wider with his unusual lack of regard for anyone and anything around him. I see some thingies over there. Whatever. My clothes went from soaked to drenched in a matter of seconds. If I were to actually walk out into it, I felt like I'd drown.
なんだこりゃ。真っ暗だぞ。森？
Oh, well, there's trees everywhere. Transdimensional forest of agony.
ひどい雨。こんな中外に出て行ったら服びしょ濡れになりそう。
そりゃ見てみてえな。
Oh, you freaking creep.
けど外に出られることは分かったね。片山たち連れに戻ろう。
Are you kidding me? Really?
ね、ゆうや。
Despite our having found a way out, Yuya's demeanor hadn't changed a bit, because he doesn't care at all. He was standing back by the hall where he could watch over us while also keeping an eye out for anyone else who might happen by. The model of maturity. Shimada, on the other hand.
頑張れよ。俺はもう出るぞ。
Yep, he's just gonna abandon everyone.
こんなわけわかんねえところ、とっとと出るに限るぜ。片山のところになんか戻らねえよ。
マジで言ってる？
あー、当たり前だバカ。脳なしから順番に死ぬようになってるんだよ。あんな奴ら放っとけよ。は
あ、びっくり。いいんだこんなやつ。
The good thing is actually everyone knows that the forest is bad news, so if Shimada goes there, goodbye, we will not see you again.
よう桐崎お前も来いよ
The tone in his voice said it all. He'd hit the ultimate low. After abandoning his friends to save his own hide, he was now basically propositioning me.
お前には死んでほしくないんだ前から大事に思ってたからさ
Yeah, I bet. I know one person who is exactly like you, and he is a complete douchebag. Like, lies to women, and then when they don't do as he wants, he just starts insulting them. Because, oh, you're a female, you need to show me your love, because I am a big strong man, and I am also an idiot. Sorry. Carrying on. With an obviously rehearsed and truly sickening pickup line. He really was the slime ball to end all slime balls.
信じらんない何お前こっち見んなよ
I couldn't believe he had the nerve to pull something like this. I felt like that may have been the first time I'd ever truly yelled at someone. I was absolutely livid. And he wasn't even done. No, he still had plenty of salt left to throw in the wound.
うるせえブス調子乗ってんなよせっかく行かせてやろうと思ったのによ後悔しろや
死ねえこいつマジ切れる行こうユウヤ
My head was swimming, I was scared, I was angry, I was sad. Every negative emotion brought to the forefront and every positive emotion pushed away. I didn't look back, I just turned away from Shimada, walked over to Yuya's side and continued past him into the hallway. Yuya had been watching all of this unfold from the other side of the room, and for a moment he just stood there, staring blankly at Shimada.
あ何見てんだよ消えろよ能面野郎
Shimada then drew a large knife from his breast pocket. Its tip struggled to glisten in the dull light of the room, but it did ultimately succeed. He began waving it around like a dumbass, probably thinking it made him look more menacing. Oh, you don't know who you're fucking with, Shimada.
見ろよこれ昨日買ったんだよ使えそうだろいろいろお前は本当に面白いな
Yep. Kisami's not going that crazy mode yet, but he is.
あいつ女10人くらいいるんだよ信じられる何が大事に思ってたよ
It's funny and at the same time pretty sad that Kisami is actually one of the best characters survival-wise and intelligence-wise in this game, but the thing is that he's only pretending to be a caring character when he is actually a sociopath and a murderer. Yeah.
どんだけ女の子バカにしてんのマジ許せない
Yep. I was indignant, I was fuming, I just kept cursing and mumbling as I fast walked back to the third floor to meet up with the others. And all the while Yuya was keeping pace with me, saying nothing at all. Always the model of maturity, always even-tempered. He really was like a rock. Or maybe... Maybe he found my mutterings annoying, and was just keeping quiet so I'd do the same. Well, I think the case is that Kisami doesn't really care what you are saying. In one way or another. He doesn't care that you have problems and that, but he isn't really annoyed about it either. I didn't like that possibility one bit, so I mentally slapped myself on the cheek, forced positivity in my voice and tried to engage him in cheery banter. Right here.
ユウヤはその点誠実だよね女の子傷つけたこと一回もないでしょ超モテるのに悪い噂聞いたことないもんある意味すごいよ
I looked him square in the eyes as if asking him, isn't that right? And for a moment his eyes did meet mine. But then they went right back to the hall. Was he not used to receiving compliments from women? That seemed hard to believe.
よくわからない。
And he's not actually lying in this situation. What a cute, innocent response. If only you knew, Toko. I must have come across a bipolar to him or something. One second I tried to lighten the mood with small talk or compliments, and then I'd start to feel scared of this school again, or angry at Shimada, or sad for Katayama. My mind just couldn't make up its mind. My mind just couldn't make up its mind what to feel. And from another dimension, Mitsuki calls. Mitsuki's voice echoed up from below, but our friends were waiting for us above. For a moment I wasn't sure which direction to go, but only for a moment. The fact is, our friends were very, very close, so close that it would be foolish not to tell them what was going on before chasing after Mitsuki. Yuya just nodded and began running up the stairs, and I was right behind him. That's really hopeful music, but we all know what happens to Byakuren students. Yakudan. I was out of breath, staring down at the ground and talking to what I assumed would be three very attentive friends. But then I looked up. They were all there, but there was no immediacy, no urgency on anyone's face. Emi and Okawa weren't even looking at me nor at Yuya, but at Katayama. They were fixated on his face, and each bore a sad, hopeless, empty expression, and they certainly weren't about to get moving. There was a general heaviness in the air. Something was very wrong. I gently reached out my hand and touched Emi's shoulder. This is bad. Emi's eyes were filled with tears. Okawa too was cradling Katayama's head and looked like he'd been crying this whole time. His eyes were bright red and his nose was running. Yuya, still saying nothing, just walked over to Katayama's side, bent down and began examining his wound.
Yuya.
The four of us silently but unanimously agreed that our best course of action was to pick up Katayama and bring him out through the exit we'd discovered, which would not help you. Not that you ever even reached that point, but... And we had to be very, very quick about it, or he really would die. I could tell just by looking at him that his time was almost up. Of course. Yeah, Kisame is a big, strong man, and he can carry anyone.
Ryosuke, ganbare. Minna ga tasukete kureru zo.
As this was all going on, I had the nagging feeling like I was forgetting something. Of course, Mitsuki! We had to go find her. We couldn't just leave her behind, after all. Not to mention that also Kurosaki and Fukuroi are out there somewhere.
Yuya, どうしよう、私。2階ちょっと見てきていい？美月の声が気になるんだ。遠くに行っちゃったら。
He didn't even have to say anything this time. His eyes told me the whole story. Got it. I know I can trust you with this task, they said. And that was enough for me. I shot off down the hall like a bullet. I was determined to find Mitsuki and rejoin everyone en route. I hurried down to the second floor. But Excuse me, but Mitsuki's voice was coming from even farther down. I'd have to keep going to the first floor ahead of the others. Search mode again. Cannot go. We have to go to the first floor now. And there's a wrong end waiting for us along the way. And well, not along the way there. When we come back, it will wait for us. This is the first floor, and there's 3 corpses down here. I'm not sure where they are, but... oh, there's one. Oh, there we go. There's a thoroughly decomposed corpse here. The name on its name tag sounds male, but it's a little hard to tell. Matsukase Prefectural High School, Motohiro Suzuki. Age, 17, cause of death, suffocated after tongue severed by sharp object. And then there's another corpse. Again, somewhere. I think it was over here, actually. And one was to the west. So I could be very wrong, because I am always wrong. There it is.
さっき美月の声が聞こえた場所から考えると、これ以上先だと。
Look at the corpse, though. It's a thoroughly decomposed corpse. Having gone completely skeletal, it's virtually impossible to determine age or gender. Fortunately, the deceased name tag seems to have survived and identifies him as a male student from a trade school. Yeah, okay. Komashiro Trade School, Toru Takahashi. This was 18 years old and cause of death, member of school newspaper club, came to Heavenly Host to investigate. Always seen to be in a big hurry. No cause of death actually, but whatever. And the final one should be here. Yeah, but no. This is not the place Mitsuki's. This is the place where the final name tag of the game is. It's a half-decomposed corpse. Though kind of hard to tell, it appears to be the remains of a female senior high school student. She still seems to be loosely gripping her student ID name tag in one of her hands. Kurashiki Industrial High School, Leona Omura. Age 17, cause of death, cranium bashed in with blunt object. And with that we have every single name tag of this game. And now we just need to wander around until... If I kept running in circles like this, I'd never find her. I was in a state of panic and I was allowing it to steer my path. Frustrated with the situation, with myself for choosing to give up and head back empty-handed, I forced myself to stop and turn. I was going to do what I should have done in the first place, call out Mitsuki's name with everything I had in me. I hope she responded.
Mitsuki! Mitsuki! Doko? Minna iru yo!
Nothing. Just the cold, lonely sounds of rain and wind bearing down on this old, dilapidated building. This may have been a fairly large school, but sound traveled well in here. If she were anywhere in this hallway, I'm sure she would have heard me. And if she were just here only minutes ago, she definitely should have been around now. Could something have happened to her?
Mitsuki!
Probably. Now I shall try to go back up, because there's a slight problem waiting for us at the 2nd to 3rd floor stairway. Go. Yeah, there's Ryu. I I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but... Wait. Yeah, sure. Alright. The wrong end of this chapter is if you try to sneak past him or examine him. It appears to be the ghost of a young boy. Look closer. And now prepared for the worst wrong end in this game. Even worse than the one in the first game. Which happens when you step on the goo spots. Because that's it. Oh, terrible. But because we did that, we have now every single wrong end of this game. And the only thing that remains is the true ending of Chapter 7. Save system data, yeah, sure. And now I will tell you wonderful, adorable individuals how to get past this ghost. Alright. Load the save. And do not examine him at all. Go back downstairs. I will not. Actually, I will. Go. And to the exit. What the hell was that? What had just appeared in front of me? It's a benevolent spirit. Is there anything else here? Examine the door first. One way or another we're going to make it out of this school, all of us together. Is there anything else here? No, there isn't really. Well, you need to talk to this guy though. From the looks of it, you're another victim trapped here against your will. No? Well, I'll tell you now, there's no escape from this school. There is nothing to be gained here but despair. Though if you've got an iron will, you might be able to survive for a little while at least. Here, you should have this. It will help keep the wandering spirits at bay, though it only works once. So take it, get out of here and fight like hell. Stay alive as long as you possibly can. And he's off. The spirit vanished, but lying on the floor below where it had been was a gemstone. Specifically a violet-colored gemstone, probably an amethyst. So I can use that to keep the wandering spirits at bay one time, huh? I guess he meant the full body once, or it wouldn't kept him at bay too. Would have kept him at bay too. Either way, with this gem I felt like I could actually get back to my friends safely. I was as hopeful as one could expect, all things considered. Acquired amethyst. Of course, he also said there was no escape from here, but it was my prerogative to believe what I wanted to believe, and I ignore what I wanted to ignore. Now let us head back. As we have the amethyst, we can sneak past Ryu. No, not sneak past. Actually, we can banish him. If you try to sneak past him, you will get a wrong end again. Which will probably happen, since I don't actually remember how this goes. But I seem to recall that you now have the option of sneaking past him, unlike before. Go there. Run, Toko. Your friends are in peril! Alright. Alright, mate. Let's fight. Duel me. It appears to be the ghost of a young boy. Do not try to sneak past or you'll get the wrong end again. Use the amethyst. I held the amethyst in front of me and approached the spirit. It worked! And incredibly it actually worked. Both the ghost and the gem faded and disappeared. The stairwell was now free to be traversed. And now it's just free roaming until the end of the chapter. I mean, not free roaming, but level up.
Emi! 大丈夫! さっきまでそこに幽霊みたいなのがいてさ。
Catch your breath and look at Emmy. She's not looking too good.
みんなは早く片 片山連れて出よう。
What the hell was that? Emmy's face was absolutely wrecked with tears, and she was shaking her head violently. She wanted to tell me something, but the words just weren't coming. Well, gee, golly jeepers, I wonder what the bad news are. I had a really bad feeling about this. I ran past her to the bathrooms, to where Katayama was being lifted on the US soldiers when I left. But... why? Katayama was back on the floor, right where we'd set him down on this whole ordeal, when this whole ordeal began. Why wasn't he on US shoulders? What was going on? I had an inkling, but I didn't want to believe it, so I pushed it out of my mind. I'll take a wild guess, Toko, what's happening.
早く片山連れてかなきゃ。前に会わなかったよ。さっきトウコが降りた後、すごい声を上げて、そのまま。
The first victim is Klein from the Byakuran students. Byakuran. I always say Byakuran, it's Byakuran. I didn't know what else to say. A person had just died, and not some stranger, but a person I knew, a friend. It was the strangest feeling. I kept looking at him and thinking, is he really dead? Is this really what a person looks like when he dies? Seeing him like that drained every last bit of energy I had in me. I fell to my knees, thoroughly defeated. And for some reason we're back in the second floor. With sad music.
片山君から離れないって。どうすればいいの?
Well, the best course of action would be to leave him behind, because he's a useless sack. as Shimada said. But of course, I am not in this situation, so I wouldn't know what I would feel when this happened. Emmy and I couldn't stay near the body. We'd gone down to the second floor, where we picked a corner and just stood there, trying to recompose ourselves. Yuya elected to stay with Okawa on the third floor, I guess to try and break him from his shock and help put some distance between him and Katayama. None of this felt real, or maybe I just didn't want it to be real. It was a nightmare. It had to be. I'd just sit up in my bed and it would all be over. But no such luck for you. You are in hell.
冷めないね。おかしいな。冷めないの。さっきから夢だと思おうとしてるんだけど。トウコ。
My energy was waning again. I sank to the ground, landing on my knees. Emmy followed my lead and put an arm around me for comfort. A friend had just died. He just died. God, why? Who's there? Emmy and I looked at each other. We both heard them. Footsteps coming down the hall. It was too dark to make out who it was, but the gate was decidedly male. The two of us slowly and quietly rose to our feet, hid around the corner and peeked out, both terrified and curious as to whom or what we might see. Well, get ready for a strange event. There, at the end of the hall, the figure finally came into view. It was a tallish man, unsteadily teetering as he slowly strode toward us. It was Shimada, drenched from head to toe.
Shimada-kun!
Emmy shot forward, intending to run toward him, but I grabbed her arm and held her back without even thinking about it. She turned and looked at me with a puzzled expression.
あいつ、私無理。 時だし、起こったことだけでも伝えておかないと。
She looked back at me again as she said this, staring right into my eyes in an almost disciplinary manner. It was the perfect guilt stare. I couldn't help but succumb to it, feeling bad for not having filled her in about the Shimada incident. But there is something very wrong with Shimada, and you're about to find out what. Shimada continued his slow, wet walk down the hall, then all of a sudden, for no discernible reason, he simply fell forward, landing hard on his knees. Something was wrong with him, and while I loathed the man, I didn't want to see him suffer. Emmy and I were both poised to rush to his aid, when other figures randomly began appearing all around him. Figures of children, blue and ethereal, whatever, shimmering with their own light. Whoa! Someone's having a blast. I am not. Open your face and look at Shimada. We could barely even see Shimada from our vantage point anymore, as his body was obscured almost completely by the backs of these ghost children. He wasn't moving though, so it didn't seem like they were doing anything to him. But then he wasn't moving. At all. Which seemed highly suspicious. It occurred to me that maybe we should try to save him. Well, it's kinda too late for that. But go ahead. I inched forward. He was still in exactly the same position he had been when he fell to his knees. He literally hadn't moved at all. Literally. Was he unconscious or dead? Emmy and I looked at one another and nodded. It was a silent signal to move forward and do whatever we could to help. It looks like you cannot help him anymore. The children vanished as we approached, revealing a horrific sight. Shimada's stomach had been flayed wide open. He was dead. The knife he'd flaunted earlier was jutting from the wound. It was an almost ceremonial death, like that of a samurai who'd thrown himself on his sword. You might have noticed that Kisami does not have the knife yet that he uses. Well, take a guess where he gets it. Yuya, who'd presumably rushed down to see what was wrong, calmly walked over to Shimada's body. He was checking for signs of respiration or pulse. He turned back to face us again a moment later. And his facial expression said it all. Shimada really was dead. I was beginning to lose it. I just couldn't take any more of this. My friends and acquaintances were dying one by one. I guess I should say had died, but it didn't seem like it was over, not by a long shot. Indeed. Actually, there's one person right next to you. Hell, it was doing more than trying. It had already succeeded twice over, and it will succeed many times over again, because until you're all dead. You're all dead. I was scared, I was paranoid, I was shaking and crying and screaming inside. I was deathly afraid that something else would show up. And then it did. Well, look at this. Now the real corpse party begins. It was a little girl in a red dress, standing between us and the third floor staircase. I couldn't make out the expression on her face through her bangs, but I could literally feel the hatred in her eyes as she stared into our souls. Then she turned around and slid up the staircase into the third floor hallway. Okawa's in trouble. Emi was turned the other way, so she hadn't seen the girl at all. She eventually followed our gazes, but by that time the girl was gone. She looked confused. That particular apparition looked a lot different from the other ghost I'd seen, but there was still no doubt in my mind. She was definitely a ghost.
大川君は連れてこようよ。とにかく出なきゃ、この学校から。
Yeah, go. Stop standing around.
私呼んでくる。
待て。
ゆうや、私も。
危険だ。ここで待っていろ。
Dangerous? Well, that is the direction the girl in the red dress went, and I guess Yuya didn't want me to be put in harm's way. I nodded and watched his back recede into the darkness as he chased after Emi. Dots. No weapon can pierce a calm heart.
今一番大事なことは何?
That's disconcerting. And so the darkness begins. What was going on? Why was Emi screaming? I could hear voices now. Emi and Okawa were having a heated argument.
Mario! 置いて逃げなきゃ！捕まるわ！こいつを置いていけないだろう！早く病院へ連れて行かなきゃ！
He's dead, you stupid face.
もう死んでるわ！
Indeed.
死んでない！死んでる！死んでない！死んでないんだ。
Leave him and run? We'll get caught. That ghost girl must have been pursuing them.
大変だ。行かなきゃ。
And now we get the scene where Kisame reveals his true colors.
人殺し！
Ta-da. Katayama's body was rolled unceremoniously on the landing halfway up the third floor, along with Okawa. And if you remember, in the first game we actually find Katayama's name tag in this place, where it is now. At the top of the stairs stood Emi, and in front of her Yuya, with an imposing scowl on his face. I didn't understand any of this. What had just happened? Emi let out another scream and came running toward me down the stairs. Okawa then seemed as if he'd fallen and broken his arm. He was lopsidedly crawling toward me. It was almost as if he were trying to distance himself from Yuya. Man killer. I ran to the base of the stairs to meet up with Emi. I needed some sort of context here.
Emi! 何？どうしたの？逃げろ！逃げろ！殺されるぞ！キサミ君が蹴り落としたの！急に！
I glanced up at Yuya, but his face was shrouded in darkness. I couldn't make out any expression at all. And as we know, later on, Okawa also dies. Okawa seemed to have reached his breaking point. He shot to his feet and took off behind me toward the second floor as fast as he could. Yuya kicked Okawa down the stairs. Why? Slowly he walked down to the landing. He was neither convinced nor scornful. His face was a blank slate. As soon as he reached my level, he bent down and began fiddling with Katayama's body. Raising the arms, then letting them drop, wiping blood from the ears and nose, then looking at it as if studying a specimen under a microscope. Oh shit. Well, whatever. You should run, Toko. What the hell? He was enjoying this. I finally got to see an emotion written clearly on his face, and it was elation. How was this not some crazy dream? Run! Tears began spilling from my eyes like water. I was shocked, confused, and I don't even know what else. Yeah, Kuran students really are not having a good time here. Emi and I found ourselves standing in front of the door to the school infirmary.
島田が泣いてなくしちゃったんだよね。こんなとこ逃げ込んで、もし見つかったら終わりだよ。下に逃げよう。
The poor girl was frantic. I can't say I blamed her, but well, something about this whole situation just didn't feel right to me.
やっぱり私信じられない。あ、何が？優也があんな優しい優也がひどいことするなんて。だって本当に蹴り落としたのよ。大川を信じられないよ。じゃあ勝手にすればいいよ。もう。
With that, Emi pushed me out of the way and ran past me toward the stairwell leading to the first floor.
Emi!
And later on, she was bound by Mitsuki, Fukuroi, and Morishige, as we know. And she ended up dying, as we also know. And off she went. I was now separated from every one of my friends. But was I really in danger? I mean, but from Yuya, that just didn't seem right. Or more likely, I didn't want it to be. I wanted to believe that this was all a misunderstanding. And it actually is! Because we will find out about it very soon. My legs were shaking and my head was swimming. I just stood there, unsure of where I should go or what I should do. Hi! And then there he was, right behind me. And that's an awesome expression on your face. And in his hand was Shimada's huge knife, the one that was last seen jutting from Shimada's stomach. It was still dripping with blood. Yeah, that's where he gets the knife. This definitely made matters more complicated. How could I doubt Yuya's guilt when he was holding something like that? Why did he even have it? How could he possibly bring himself to pull a knife from his friend's lifeless corpse? You gotta do what you gotta do, man. But I wasn't going to run. I turned around and braced myself. I opened my mouth, intent on discussing this rationally. If I ran away now, I felt like it would all be over. There would be nothing left to save. No one left to trust. But what could I possibly say to him? Why did you do it? Are you alright? If you ask him, why did you do it? All he will say is, you too? Like, you two are like them. So we will do this. My body was still visibly shuddering and I doubted I'd have much of a voice if I tried talking. But I just wanted this all to be a horrible mistake so badly. I knew I had to say something. I knew I had to get through to him. Maybe he was just freaking out in his own way. This whole experience had been taxing for all of us, and Yuya's only human. He must have been terrified. And maybe I could help get him through it. Get him to talk about what's bothering him and feel a little better. It was worth a shot at least.
Yuya, 大丈夫?
桐崎、浦部と大川はどこだ?
どうして?
And off she goes. And the thing is that since Toko actually asks him if he's alright and not like, oh, you're a murderer and this, that is actually the reason Kisame did not attack Toko. No answer, he just started muttering to himself and slowly walked right past me, as if I weren't even there.
Yuya! 何するの? 何持ってるのそれ?
使えそうだ。いろいろ。
やめて! 捨ててよ!
No, this is happening. No, I couldn't let this go on. I grabbed him by the arm and just clung to him, putting my full weight on his body to keep him from going any farther down the hallway. He was at the crossroads, about to walk down a path of no return, and I wasn't going to lose the kind considerate Yuya I'd fallen for. Unfortunately, the only tools I had at my disposal for stopping him were my feelings, and those just weren't going to be enough. Yeah, not quite enough. Because here comes Yuya's left hook. I was so startled that it took me a moment before I'd even figured out what happened.
同じだここでは
It was the first time in my entire life that I'd ever been punched in the head, and he put everything he had into it.
この学校に殺されるのも
I couldn't focus, my brain was still rattling inside my skull from the impact.
俺に殺されるの
And that's the same thing he said to Kurosaki in the first game. The world was spinning. I looked up at him with spasmodic, twitchy, tear-filled eyes. There was no sign of remorse or compassion whatsoever. He looked like a feudal warrior clutching his sword and staring down at his enemy. The area all around my eye was dropping. It hurt so badly and felt so swollen and sore, I couldn't even imagine what it must have looked like. And he wasn't done with me. He got in closer and closer, grinning unnaturally as he raised his fist for a second strike.
お前で試すか最初
I was running on pure instinct and adrenaline at this point. I shot to my feet and it just forced them to carry me to safety somewhere, anywhere. He was going to kill me. He was really going to kill me. God. I felt something rattling around uncomfortably inside my mouth, so I spit it out in my hand. It was white. A single white tooth with blood-red highlights at its root. You know why its chapter is called Tooth, that's why. That maniac had actually knocked out one of my teeth. He was there, just behind me. I panicked, tripping over my own feet and stumbling to the ground on the landing between the first and second floor. I'd fallen on my backside, dropping my tooth on the ground next to me. I began slinking away from the encroaching figure of Yuya Kisami. Save me, somebody, anybody, God, please! I was scooting backwards across the floor, too stiff, sore and scared to stand, but then my hand brushed across something small and metallic. A key! The key that Shimada dropped. Even with my hand right over it, I was shaking so badly that I could barely work my fingers to get a grip. It was the most frustrating feeling in the world, and for a few seconds that felt like hours, I just kept trying in vain to pick up that damn key. Finally, I slipped my finger through the ring. I had it. This was my one and only chance. Scrambling to my feet, I somehow slipped past Yuya and ran back up to the second floor as fast as I could force my shaky legs to carry me. I had the key. I could lock myself in. I could hide in the infirmary. Of course, Yuya is not even concerned about her. Kisame didn't pursue, not right away. He just stood there staring at the tooth that I dropped on the ground, staring intently as if trying to make out what he was seeing.
Haka.
And now, Kisame's fetishes. This is one scene that I don't understand. Why is he eating the tooth? That sounds really tasty though. And he ate it. And he is crazy. Batshit insane. And I'm actually running out of time, so I had to make this quick. There didn't seem to be any way to lock the door from the inside. I needed to find a hiding place before Yuya showed up at the corner of the room, under the bed maybe. I was scanning every inch of the room as quickly as possible, sizing up my surroundings. My eyes stopped on one of the medicine shelves. There's a... Yes, scissors. The scissors Togo kills Satoshi in the first game, in the wrong end. Hehehehe. That's how it happened. That's why she's so paranoid in the first game. It felt like such a revelation, like the answer I was looking for, but what was I going to do with scissors? Cut your own tongue, apparently. Was I going to fight? Fight who? Yuya? I wouldn't stand a chance. I decided to leave them there. I stepped back and crouched down behind the partitioning screen that was set up in the middle of the room. And now we go back slightly to see all of that from Kisami's perspective. Urabe had run back to the bathrooms on the third floor to warn Okawa about the imminent threat that was approaching. And yeah, this is from Kisami's perspective, so we actually know what happened. Unsurprisingly, he was still crouched on the ground, cradling Katayama's lifeless head in his arms. And he was still stubbornly insistent that if we were to leave that spot, he'd have to carry Katayama with him. What a stubborn, foolish man. I'd had enough. I decided I'd rip Katayama's body from Okawa's arms and kick it down the stairs. It made one hell of a thud when it hit the landing, but he was already dead, so what did it matter? As long as it helped get Okawa moving, I didn't care. He didn't actually kick Okawa down the stairs, but Katayama. And Okawa is, of course, a clumsy, stupid man, so he falls downstairs. See? Look, he's dead, so get your ass off that floor and run.
目を覚ませ。片山はもう死んでいる。早くここから逃げるんだ。
Urabe was looking at me, then at Katayama's body, then back at me as if she couldn't make up her mind, which was more interesting. But why was she looking at me? Did I have something on my face? Okawa, on the other hand, was focused squarely on Katayama. He was trembling all over, but I thought he finally understood. Then he turned toward me. Yelled like a madman and ran down the stairs towards his friend's body. He wasn't exactly in his right mind, however, so those last few steps didn't quite go as planned. He tripped and fell quite hard next to Katayama. Yeah, he's calling Kisami a murderer even though he did not kill anyone. So they're blaming him for nothing. And now Kisami's darkness begins, consuming him. I wasn't the one who killed Katayama. And that is how Kisami lost all semblance of compassion and kind heart. Chapter 7, Tooth. Ha. Bada beam, bada boom. I will let you walk on this. I will go silent for a moment. She's really beautiful. Wakaranai, kikitakunai, mada shinsichu wa tobenai, toritatsu mo requiem ga mata hibiku no wa Sangria no kokoro. To this sad horror game ending, we conclude Course Party Book of Shadows. It has been quite a run, and I hope you enjoyed it all. Again made by Team Chris and 5BB. Chapter 7 End, and the story is concluded. Chapter 7 clear. Now, there's actually one more chapter to play. Didn't see that coming, did you? In the next episode, we will look at the one final chapter left. Tomokazu Sugita, Yumi Igarashi, Seikos Yoshida, Satomi Moriya. Soulful Testimonies unlocked in bonus menu. Save system data. We will save the system data. Yeah, as you can see here, Blood Drive chapter now unlocked. And in the next episode we will look at the final chapter of the game and conclude this game to its real ending. So, until then, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.